A warning about the tsunami warning system. The U.S. system for detecting tsunamis and warning the public is seriously outdated. It needs new software and better means of sending out alerts and letting people know they're in danger. That's the assessment of a panel of experts that reports to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The group of scientists and technical advisors says upgrading the system could save lives and millions of dollars in potential damage. Tsunamis are a series of long and very high waves caused by undersea earthquakes and other disruptions. The most vulnerable places are the U.S. West Coast, Hawaii, and Alaska. The 32-page report identifies several areas that need improvement. One is that the system should do a better job detecting tsunamis that are not caused by earthquakes, such as from volcanic eruptions and landslides. Another is that the warning should be coordinated with the National Weather Service's program for sending alerts on all weather events.
Holy that looks like a writing spot. That's Joe Rose spot.
The National Cherry Blossom Festival is back after 2 years of limits and closures due to the pandemic. Trees are expected to reach peak bloom between March 22nd and the 25th. The festival kicks off March 20th with opening ceremonies and runs through April 17th. The blossoms normally attract 1.5 million visitors to the nation's capital each year. While the festival is fully open to visitors again, some pandemic precautions remain. The popular Bloom Cam will be back for people still leery of crowds, and despite the recent winter weather, park officials say trees on the tidal basin are not affected. That's because the blossoms haven't bloomed yet and remain protected by their buds. The cherry trees were a gift from Japan in 1912. Japan's government is still heavily involved in the festival and regularly replaces about 90 trees a year.
This bright pink lake in Western Australia was a beautiful mystery for a long time, but recently a group of scientists may have figured it out. First of all, the lake is several times saltier than the ocean. The founder of the Extreme Microbiome Project told New Scientist he saw the lake on TV and decided to take some samples. He got a team together to analyze the water and sediment. They looked at the DNA sequences using computers, which can isolate the genetic information of each tiny organism. There were over 500 varieties, most of which were halophiles, meaning that they can tolerate high salt levels in water. Many of those halophiles were purple, red, and orange, the combination of which give the lake its pink hue. The researchers said the colors may actually protect the organisms from the extremely salty environment. The next extreme lake environment they plan to sample is Lake Magic, one of the most acidic in Australia.
Water woes out west as the country's second largest reservoir drops to worrying levels. Lake Powell is now at just 24% of capacity and could fall below a critical threshold this month, threatening water and energy supplies. Lake Powell stretches from southeastern Utah to northeastern Arizona. It's part of a system that provides drinking water to 40 million people across the Southwest. Plunging water levels threaten the Glen Canyon Dam's ability to generate electricity. The dam provides power for nearly 6 million people in several surrounding states. Water levels have been largely dropping at the lake over the past 2 decades. That's due to long-term drought and increasing water demand across the Southwest.
A new rainbow-colored fish has been found in the Maldives. It's called the rose-veiled fairy wrasse, a nod to the Maldives' national flower. The fish was discovered in the ocean's twilight zone, an area of unexplored coral reefs 160 to 500 feet below the surface. The fairy fish was actually first collected by researchers in the 1990s, but they thought it was the adult version of another species. After some genetic testing, they found it is indeed a unique species. The Maldives are known for their exotic coral reefs and marine life, and people come from all over the world to experience it. Colorado could be in line for another dangerous wildfire season. It's just not getting enough snow this winter, and it desperately needs it. More than 90% of the state is in drought. The snow is needed to moisten the parched ground and fill reservoirs. Colorado normally reaches its peak snowpack in early April, so there's still a few more weeks to go, but current weather trends make it unlikely it'll get the bump it needs. And there are more concerns once spring comes. If a big warm-up melts the snow all at once, the dry ground won't have a chance to absorb it. Temperatures need to warm up slowly to help prevent summer wildfires. 50 years ago, Apollo astronauts collected a sealed sample of the moon and brought it back to Earth. In mid-February, NASA scientists began opening it for the first time. They waited this long to use better technology to measure what's inside. The tools today are sensitive enough to identify molecules based on their precise mass. The opening process, as you can imagine, is delicate and will likely take months. First, they have to capture any gases that escape and analyze it. A European Space Agency scientist on the project said that may help reveal how gas elements evolved on the moon. Scientists hope the sample will teach them more about the moon's surface before the Artemis moon missions. Climate change-fueled extreme weather events are already taxing farms around the world, but heat waves in particular could cost cattle farmers billions of dollars. A new study published in The Lancet found heat stress on cattle could result in up to $40 billion in annual losses by the end of the century. Researchers say tropical areas will likely be hit the hardest. The study projects heat stress could cost India almost half of its dairy farming. Meanwhile, demand for livestock products is only growing. That, combined with steadily climbing temperatures, could be catastrophic for low-income tropical nations. If greenhouse gas emissions stay on the lower end, the industry is still looking at about $15 billion in annual losses by 2100. The study's authors say now is the time to adapt farms and cattle to mitigate heat stress impacts.
Weeks of deadly flooding in Queensland, Australia is creating an environmental disaster. Pontoons on the Brisbane River got loose from their moorings and are breaking up and washing ashore on beaches. The pontoons are made of polystyrene, and it's affecting the beaches along the coast. Locals have dubbed it the White Spill. There are fears turtles hatching in coming weeks could ingest the tiny beads, and dolphins, fish, and other marine life could ingest parts of the pontoons. Polystyrene breaks down very slowly. It's not considered biodegradable. Volunteers have been urged to head to beaches to help clean up the mess. Scientists say more than 170 million Americans, about half of U.S. adults, were exposed to harmful levels of lead as children. They also found that 90% of children born in the U.S. between 1950 and 1981 had blood lead levels higher than the CDC threshold. On average, that led to a 2.6 drop in IQ. For those born between 1966 and 1970, the average IQ loss was 5.9 points. Most of the exposure came from vehicle exhaust and the use of leaded gasoline. It was phased out in the 70s and finally banned in 1996. Early childhood lead exposure has impacts not only on cognitive development, it also has been linked to kidney damage, hypertension, and heart disease.
Road salts may do more than just irritate your skin. They can get into drinking water and raise your sodium levels. A new study published in Advancing Earth and Space Science found sodium levels in tap water rise when de-icing agents are used. Scientists analyzed sodium levels of Philadelphia tap water from November 2018 through March 2019. They found levels spiked in winter right after large snowfalls. The sodium spikes were temporary, but levels were sometimes over 6 times higher than the EPA's recommendation for a low-sodium diet. After looking at data from 40 snowy cities, researchers suggested utilities send real-time sodium spike alerts to the public.
An incredible find off the coast of Antarctica, the wreckage from Ernest Shackleton's ship Endurance. It sank in 1915 in the Weddell Sea. Shackleton left England aboard the ship in 1914 with a crew of 27. They were attempting to be the first to cross Antarctica. In January 1915, the ship got stuck in ice. They drifted with the ice for 10 months. As the ship became damaged, the crew set up camp on the ice. The expedition was a failure, but the team's survival and eventual rescue made Shackleton a hero. Under the terms of the Antarctic Treaty signed in 1959, the Endurance will not be moved, but scans from the wreckage, which is intact and well preserved, will be used for educational materials.
Turns out there's a link between local weather and flu outbreaks in the United States. A new study by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration found that when humidity in a state drops to a certain level, a flu outbreak often follows. Researchers looked at atmospheric water vapor measurements and weekly flu cases from 2003 to 2015. They saw that when winter came around, humidity levels dropped across the U.S. And when each state reached a specific threshold, flu cases would rise a few weeks later. States' low humidity thresholds vary considerably. For example, states that are typically more humid tend to have a higher threshold. While researchers noted the flu outbreak correlation, the study didn't explore the reasons behind it. But a Centers for Disease Control study found the flu virus is more infectious at low relative humidity.
Pollution that travels from as far away as China could be what causes high smog days in the spring and early summer in Las Vegas. A new study from NOAA used high-tech weather instruments to measure ozone production and movement in the city. The results showed that much of the ozone, which is the main ingredient in smog, was produced in other places. Some of it came from across the Pacific Ocean. Like many western U.S. cities, Las Vegas is plagued by smog, especially during the warmer months. The city is ranked 12th in the U.S. for its number of high ozone days. Air quality has improved in the U.S., although at slower rates in the Southwest. But this background ozone, which is present regardless of local pollution sources, is much lower in the East. And the researchers say that puts places like Las Vegas at a disadvantage when it comes to meeting air quality standards.
Oh, wow. Oh my God, look at that, man. Oh, wow. No worries, no worries. What was that? Okay, babe? Are you okay, babe? Okay. Okay, babe? Are you okay, babe? It was fast. Howdy. I was kind of bored.
Hello.
Anyway, I came across this news from Yahoo. Bank calls cops for black man cashing a check from his person. Arizona police went to a credit union. The manager dad at the electricity account over his check. Called on a black guy was a black Arizona man attempting to cash a check to receive after selling the boat. The man, Almond, and a lure went to Pinal County Federal Credit Union at Apache Junction to cash $3,200 check. Wow, $3,200? With more than that. Only to be surrounded by police after the manager got simplicity. October 2021. Brewer waited and told them the person the check was fake. The report notes that Brewer told the teller he had received the check and sent the report to a woman on Facebook Marketplace. And she looked kind of surprised.
I can hardly hear you, Mark.
Really? Huh. How about now? 1, 2, 3.
Much better.
I lowered it. However, after running the check through a third-party verifier, it was deemed inconclusive. The account holder verified she signed the check. The police didn't know that until 10 minutes after the interaction with the son. It's amazing what people don't know. Here's another one.
Yep.
Sheriff to Catoosa County smoke shop owners. The Delta 8 products violate state law. Can you believe the prices of gasoline these days? $4 for regular, $4.10 for mid-grade, and $4.39 for premium.
Everything is going to go up.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I stopped at the gas station wake up, and I got $10 worth of gas. Went back to the pump. It was $4.19 a gallon. I got like 2 gallons of gas. Not even 2 gallons. That's ridiculous. It would cost me to fill it up. I got a 12-gallon tank. Instead of spending $25, I have to pay $35. At least $10 more.
It's going to get worse, Mark.
We're going to have to push the bike with us.
Get a horse and buggy.
May take longer to get to your destination. Get there. Officials confirmed several genetic stored this week. U.S. Army gives Clemson $22 million for legal research. Give me $22 million.
How long have you been on?
33 minutes. Ooh.
Buongiorno, simply Patrick.
William Hurt passed away. He was 71. He was General Thaddeus Ross in New Brunswick. Hey, did y'all see Infinity? That was Endgame? Avengers Endgame? Anybody?
No.
Well, they killed off Natasha. Then they killed off Tony Stark. And then they killed off Captain America. He's not dead. He just went back in time, stayed with his girl, came back to the present, and he's like, he aged. What was he about? 70 years old? Looking like he was 25. Yeah, he looks like he's in his 70s. Still looking good. Still looking good. What are they doing to my heroes?
Très bien, mon ami Patrick.
I'll be right back. Yep. Fire touches yet, Tony?
Do what?
Fire touches. I'm getting the fourth stimulus check back this month. They said it takes 21 days to file a claim. But I need it soon.
Patrick, il apprendait le français.
When I went to get my car, it was $47 for the tire. State fee was $1. Life, wheel balance, $14. Tire fee, $2. It's ridiculous. That is $64. Then I bought some ribs. That was $17.48. Like 2 pounds of ribs. Sealed. Got cut the darn package. And split it open. Put it on the plate. Put it in raw plate. It's not too bad. I didn't like the sauce. Oh. Good value buns. 93 cents. Some of the stuff at Walmart is cheap.
Patrick wants to know if you've removed Facebook or you blocked him.
Well, that'll be between me and Patrick. I'm not going to start driving on my watch. Eating pretzels? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Hard pretzels?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I got my mouth full.
Wash it down with some root beer. But since there's only 2 people watching, yeah, I did block you, Patrick. You blocked me 2 times now. What's up with that? Yeah. Salted pretzels, hard pretzels?
Yeah, just salted.
I like the super pretzels. There's a place in South Carolina. I'm trying to think. Yeah, QT, South Carolina. We don't have the QTs there. They got cinnamon pretzels. They bake the pretzels. I think the pretzels are already baked. They put the cinnamon on the top
Yeah.
and heat it up. And they give it to you. But you got to pay for the pretzel first. That's ridiculous. That's like you want to go get a beer, but you got to pay for the beer first before you go grab it and pay for it. Doesn't make sense. You know, Mayhem, Mystic Skywatcher.
Yeah.
She had some drama earlier tonight. Her ex-husband showed up. She called the cops. Took me 33 minutes to get there. You're making me hungry. I haven't eaten all day. Steakums. You silenced yourself. I'm going to get some refund. I'm going to get some. I'm going to get some watermelon and blackberries. The only trouble I have with blackberries is I like them with my cereal. And before I can eat the cereal, the blackberries are warm up. My wife and I have $750,000 in savings and earn over $44,000 a year. Can we afford to spend $5,000 per month? That can't be yours. I got it. Let's see. Oh. Jeez. Star Wars, Daisy Ridley, she's a new Jedi, has the best response when asked if she was returning to as Rey Skywalker. Oh, she's a Skywalker. Okay. Either Anakin and a former senator. Anakin had a child named Luke, right? And then Luke had, right? I gotta watch Star Wars over again. What happened to his sister? Anybody know?
Whose sister?
Luke Skywalker.
Oh,
After 32 years, McDonald just made a heartbreaking announcement. Whoa. This is fake news. Grimes says Elon Musk lives at times below the poverty level. That's kind of fake. What do you think? Goodbye, Patrick. Yeah, I tell you, Donnie, it pisses me off to no end. Never did nothing to him, always supported him, always welcomed to my live streams, panel, and he blocks me. Like I've done something to him. Well, after what happened to me in the past 3 years, you know, that's it.
that's you guys' deal. I'm staying neutral.
And you should stay neutral. You got a friend, somebody doesn't like your friend, well, that's between that person and your friend, not you. You know? I can't tell. Nobody has the right to tell you you can't be friends with somebody because that other person doesn't like you.
Several people do that, Mark, and you know it. I'm friends with you. I'm friends with Patrick. Whatever is between you two, it's between you two. I have nothing to do with it.
Well, if you heard what I had to say, that's fine. But, you know, if you got, like I told you before, Cody, if you got a beef with me, let me know, and we'll try to correct it. You know, that's the way it should be. finish this up.
An upper level low is going to swing by the southern plains. That's going to leave us with a chance of severe thunderstorms across Texas. Early part of the week, we're talking Monday afternoon, evening, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, moving really into the Gulf of Mexico and affecting mainly Florida. So you've got a marginal to slight risk heads up east and east central Texas as we go through Monday night into the overnight hours, mainly Monday night into early Tuesday. Then Tuesday, we're looking at the Gulf Coast, the Florida Peninsula, with Wednesday focusing in on north central Florida, southward almost to the Florida Keys. It does look like our thunderstorms get going about 6 p.m. or so around the I-35 corridor and then move eastward overnight. So it is going to be a stormy night across a lot of the Gulf states and the southern Mississippi Valley, and then continuing Tuesday and Wednesday into parts of Georgia, Alabama, and Florida, with again most of our severe activity Tuesday and Wednesday down in Florida. But going to rack up some rainfall. Montgomery 1 to 2 inches. You'll look for an inch at Jacksonville, Atlanta. It has been a little dry across the southeast, so this rainfall is going to be welcome. Temperatures expected to warm across the country as we head into astronomical spring, which does begin next week. We're looking at temperatures Tuesday in the 50s and 60s across a big chunk of the nation, all the way from the Central Plains out to the East Coast. Wednesday's highs should be in the mid 60s. Pittsburgh, Chicago, Minneapolis still holding out in the 50s. Wichita, Kansas 74. Houston coming in at 79. And you can see that warmth stretching eastward as we get temperatures into the 80s by Thursday. Dallas coming in 83, Atlanta 71. Nashville 72 is still going to be in the 50s across parts of the Northeast. So we're looking from the 19th to the 23rd, temperatures being much above average. As a matter of fact, you have to get into the eastern slopes of the Rockies and parts of central Texas to find near average temperatures, below average for the Northwest and parts of the Rockies.
You might be wondering what this is. Those rays of light you see are an example of something called the Tyndall effect, named after a physicist who studied it back in the 1800s. The Tyndall effect happens when a beam of light is scattered by small particles in the air, in this case, most likely smog. The video is of light coming off a skyscraper in China, but we see the same phenomenon when rays of sunlight hit dust or car headlights hit fog. Residents in Mozambique are reeling after a deadly cyclone. Gombe made landfall Friday with 125-mile-per-hour winds, the equivalent of a Category 3 hurricane. Officials say at least 15 people were killed. More than 23,000 homes damaged or destroyed. Many collapsed in high winds. The storm weakened over the
Well,
weekend.
first of all, I never stabbed you in the back, and I do read your messages. And I sent you some other stuff. Okay? So, knock it off. Get over it. And that's it. I don't know what to say to you, Patrick. If you're gonna be mean to me, then don't come back. Right? Simple as that. I had enough people stab me in the back for no fucking reason. That's up to you.
But continued to batter central and northern Mozambique with rain and strong wind. Rivers have burst their banks, many roads impassable. Some places are completely cut off without power, water, or communication. It's the latest in a series of cyclones to slam southern Africa so far this year.
There's a look at the national forecast to stay stormy down to the south today. This is where we have an area of severe weather expected for later today through Texas, parts of Louisiana and Arkansas. It's going to stay stormy throughout the week down to the south. So Tuesday, more rains in the forecast, but that severe weather will trend along the Gulf and into Florida. And on Wednesday, well, you can see that rain shield pushes up into the mid-Atlantic, but we will have a chance of severe storms in the morning for parts of Florida. The warmth is back in the forecast, and this is something we're going to see all week. So even on Thursday with some snow developing in the Rockies, take a look at temperatures in Chicago, 60 degrees in Philadelphia. You'll see a warm up along with the rest of the Northeast.
Maui County in Hawaii is in the midst of what's being called a historic drought. It's especially concerning because it's happening during what's typically Hawaii's rainy season. The low rainfall has led to limited surface water flow. Officials say they rely on that water to meet municipal drinking water demands. Maui County certainly isn't the only part of Hawaii that's being impacted. The U.S. Drought Monitor map shows most of Hawaii is in at least a moderate drought. The Department of Land and Natural Resources said a limited rainy season could lead to major challenges in the dry season, and it could mean a dangerous wildfire season is ahead. Officials are asking residents to limit their water use wherever they can. The U.S. Forest Service regularly uses controlled burns to help clear out dead leaves, limbs, and other debris that serve as fuel for wildfires. In the fire-prone West, these are usually done in the winter when there's less risk. But forestry and fire experts say global warming is making that harder. Winters are getting shorter and fire season longer, leaving less time to prepare. Plus, inconsistent snowfall amounts can make conditions too dry or too wet for controlled burns. This is happening at the same time that wildfires are expected to become larger and more intense due to climate changes.
That had to be a leak. Knock myself out again.
The wind was incredible. I mean, it's just howling through the valley. And then the crash and the bang of the glass and everything scraping and flying and the debris coming in. We've got aluminum siding for people's houses in our house now that we don't know where it came from. And that you could just hear that while we were sheltered in place, banging through the walls and going down the hallways. We have a lot of debris in our house right now. We have a lot of broken windows, a lot of roof damage. Structurally, it's intact. A neighbor 50 yards from us, their house nearly got leveled. I mean, the tornado passed right between us and hit them direct.
Oh my God, look at that, man. Oh, wow. No worries.
Well, I want to share this video with you from a tornado that happened in Iowa on Saturday. This is from Runnels, Iowa. This tornado itself, it was rated EF4. What you're going to see here is not quite EF4 wind, but I want to use this video as kind of a teaching opportunity in case you've never been in a tornado before, and I certainly hope you don't have to experience that, but just kind of show you how things pan out when a tornado hits. Now, we're going to break this down into a couple of different parts of the video. First off, let's start at the beginning, where if you look closely at the left side of the screen, you can actually see the tornado approaching, okay? Now, you can hear in the video, the man that sets up the camera, he's telling his family to get to shelter. He says he can see it, so good job there. But the really amazing thing with a tornado is how quickly it can hit. Okay, so it's actually pretty quiet, right? You can see there's not a humongous amount of wind, and then it just absolutely smacks that area. I mean, tornadoes, when they hit, is so ridiculously fast, and that's why it's so important to get to shelter pretty well in advance of when it hits, because you don't have time to say, hey, oh, look, a tornado's hitting. I think we should probably get to shelter. Now, you can see how strong that wind is. It didn't move the car, definitely did a lot of damage and stuff like that, but there's one particular spot here where if you look closely, and we will do this in slow motion for you, look at the left side of the screen. There is an individual vortex with some incredibly strong wind that comes just flying toward the camera, okay? It's possible this could have been maybe a satellite vortex around the main tornado. I don't think it was the main tornado looking at this, but you can tell, I mean, that is some serious, serious wind there, probably in excess of 120 miles per hour, just kind of eyeballing it there, not knowing exactly what the wind was at the location. But bottom line is, this is just an absolutely incredible video. I mean, I'm glad these people were safe. This tornado itself did end up killing 6 people. Oh, one more thing about this video. After that individual vortex comes through and it really quiets down, then you really think it's over. One more gust of wind, and what I believe this to be is the rear flank downdraft, the RFD, that comes in on the back side of this thing. It's straight line wind, you know, can easily be over 80 miles per hour in some cases. So it's kind of a 1, 2, 3 punch, at least it was in this particular case. And I hope we can use that video to kind of teach you a little bit about what it's like when a tornado comes through.
More than 1 million square miles of land in the continental U.S. is at high risk for damage from flooding, including injuries and deaths, according to a new study from North Carolina State University. That number is far higher than current government estimates reflected in FEMA flood zone maps. The areas most at risk aren't surprising. They include Louisiana, Missouri, Washington, D.C., Florida, and Mississippi. The study relied on flood damage reports compiled by NOAA over a 14-year period, as well as factors like a home's proximity to a stream or river and what the soil is like. Nearly 85% of the damage reports were in areas not considered high risk by FEMA. While the study looked at all flood reports, FEMA maps only take into account what's known as a 100-year flood. The study's data will be available to the public, and the researchers hope it will be used in planning and future mapping. Scientists say we are less able to cope with heat and humidity than has been thought. A new study looked at just how much people can handle. It examined how young people respond to extremes of temperature and humidity. It showed that when humidity is at the maximum, the highest the temperature can be before people start to suffer heat stroke is 87 degrees Fahrenheit. People are less able to handle high temperatures when it's humid, and that's because perspiration doesn't do as good a job cooling us down. Researchers at Penn State reached their conclusions by studying young volunteers. The volunteers exercised on stationary bicycles in special heated chambers. The experiments were stopped when the volunteers' core temperatures reached a certain level, and they were the best case scenario. Older people and pregnant women are less able to cope with heat and humidity. The findings have implications on the dangers of heat waves from climate change.
Holy cow!
No way to describe it other than terrifying. And when we came out, the amount of devastation in the matter of maybe 30 seconds was just unbelievable. People are very strong, and the people will rally together and we'll get through this.
I don't know if you ever heard of Reed Timmer. He's a storm chaser.
Yeah.
Same story. Well, when he goes, excuse me, when he goes storm chasing.
You okay?
Yeah, I think so. When he goes storm chasing, like Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, he lives in his van. He's got no girl. He lives, eats, and sleeps in his van. He's got a partner that comes. His friend is a hurricane watcher. But sometimes he, helps. That guy is nuts. He will actually go into the tornado.
Well, that's what they usually do.
Yeah, but what, 160-mile-an-hour winds? That'll pick your van up and throw you somewhere. Even 80 mile an hour winds can pick up the car or van. But to live in your van, eat, sleep, and drink. Wow.
Hmm? That's his thing. That's what they do.
Yeah. Well, I understand that, but at least let your news outlet, broadcast company, I don't know if he works for himself or not, or for the University of Oklahoma, but at least get a hotel room or a motel room. That's just my opinion.
The spring flood outlook is in, and it's showing a higher concern of spring flooding from the Midwest to the Northeast and even down to parts of the South. So, a lot of these rivers are near or at flood stage. So, when we get these rapid thaws and heavy rain in the spring, this could cause problems. Speaking of rapid thaw, here's a look at snow cover on the ground. And you can see it's mainly concentrated out to the west, which is good news. But in the Northeast, when you get warm temperatures like we are this weekend, that is going to cause a rapid melt. Now, soil moisture across the country is pretty much below average, but where we do see a lot of soil moisture, and this aids to flooding, is concentrated out to the east. Now, speaking of those temperatures, the temperature outlook for March is trending a little bit warmer to the east. So this is where we could see not only quick thawing, but also the chance for some very heavy downpours. And take a look at the precipitation outlook, and it shows that, well, we could have above average rainfall for this spring concentrated in the Midwest and to the east. So we are going to keep our eyes really focused for the eastern half of the country for spring flooding.
Australia's bushfires were so bad 2 years ago, they actually depleted the ozone layer. Researchers say smoke went so high, ozone decreased 1%. Now, that may not sound like much, but it usually takes 10 years to recover that amount. As you may know, ozone protects the Earth from UV radiation, which can cause things like skin cancer and cataracts. It also helps regulate the Earth's temperature. The hole in the ozone is typically caused by chemicals and the temperature in the stratosphere. It's been recovering in recent years due to the 1987 Montreal Protocol, which banned the emission of ozone-depleting substances. But scientists say that recovery could slow as wildfires increase in intensity due to climate change.
A new UN climate report paints a dire picture. Scientists say dangers from global warming are coming faster than previously thought. And the world has a brief and rapidly closing window to adapt. The panel of more than 200 scientists found that if temperatures increase 3.4 degrees by 2100, today's children will experience 5 times the floods, storms, droughts, and heat waves. By 2050, 1 billion people will face coastal flooding due to rising seas. If the world warms by just 1.6 degrees, the amount of land burned by wildfires will increase 35%. Already, nearly half the world is experiencing significant risks from climate change. Scientists say every bit of warming counts, and more people are going to die each year because of it. Just how many depends on how much heat trapping gas we continue to spew into the air. The panel puts out a report every 5 to 7 years. The UN Secretary General says this latest report is a quote, atlas of human suffering and a damning indictment of failed climate leadership.
Well, the death toll from December's devastating tornado outbreak is still climbing. Kentucky's governor announced the deaths of a woman and her newborn on Monday, and that brings the death toll to 80 in the state's deadliest tornado event. The 33-year-old Mayfield woman had been hospitalized and died of her injuries. Her unborn child was delivered in December and died 6 days later. A severe storm spawned 66 tornadoes December 10th and 11th, including 16 in Tennessee and 8 in Kentucky. All totaled, they killed 90 people in 5 states.
That is a lot of tornadoes.
Wow. Burger is big.
The mega drought gripping the West is so bad, it's now the driest it's been in at least 1,200 years. Researchers say it's a worst case climate change scenario playing out in real time. The Western U.S. has been in a drought for 22 years, and last year was one of the driest years on record. Scientists say burning fossil fuels brings hotter temperatures and increases evaporation in the air. It has a direct impact on the availability of water across the West, and it's fueling the devastating wildfires we've seen in recent years. Worse yet, scientists say the drought shows no signs of slowing down. The findings were published Monday in the journal Nature Climate Change.
Until recently, the words earthquake and Texas weren't that often uttered in the same sentence, but a new analysis of seismological data by the Texas Tribune shows that the number of earthquakes rated 3.0 magnitude or higher doubled there last year. There were 200 such tremblers in the state in 2021 compared to just 98 in 2020. What's more, the Tribune reports that there were 15 earthquakes of at least 4.0 magnitude in 2021. That's 6 more than the previous 3 years combined. Most of the earthquake activity was centered in a part of West Texas known as the Permian Basin, which is also the heart of the state's oil and gas drilling industry. Research has linked seismic activity in the region to an increase in the amount of wastewater from a process of oil extraction known as fracking. Wastewater created during fracking is injected deep into underground rock formations, where scientists say it puts pressure on ancient fault lines.
Yahoo! Idaho have earthquakes? I'm not sure.
Didn't have much snow or rain last year. I don't think we had too much this year either. Not down in the valley.
Anything you want to say? videos, anything? Call heat up.
Tornadoes tend to ramp up in March as we head toward peak season, which runs from April to June. The U.S. sees an average of 83 tornadoes each March. That's about double what we see in February. You can see it goes up exponentially in May with an average of 281. Tornadoes typically form during March from the southern plains into the Ohio Valley and deep south. Areas from eastern Oklahoma and northeastern Texas into Alabama have the highest likelihood compared to other regions. So now's the time to think about where you'd go to take shelter if a tornado strikes.
Good Lord, what happened to those windows, Hale?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty neat.
I think that's going overboard. But Reed Timmer in his van, he got the windshield, new windshield. I don't know what it cost him. Probably about $300. But anyway, he goes out storm chasing again, and the same day, his windshield is completely shattered. I mean, baseball-sized hail coming down from a tornado. Completely cracked the whole windshield.
That's a big puppy.
I know that. Years and years ago, when I lived in Spartanburg, I had the computer modem, up on top of the desk, and
Right.
there was a storm. Next thing I know, there was a lightning strike, and the modem was burnt out. So I was wondering if the outlets were grounded, and it turned out no outlets were grounded. That's why it burned out. So it cost me $150 to get all the outlets grounded. Then I bought a circuit. 4200 joule surge protector. I've had a problem since.
It's summertime and it's hot and dry out there, making it a prime time for forest fires, many of those sparked by lightning. And when nature strikes, State Farm is here to help life go right. So we asked, the temperature at which wood ignites into flames is somewhere between 500 to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. On average, how many degrees is a bolt of lightning? Is it A, 5,000 degrees, B, 10,000 degrees, C, 25,000 degrees, or D, 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit?
D, 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
C, 25,000 degrees Fahrenheit. D, 50,000.
Oh, C, 25,000.
So here's the answer. D, 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 5 times the temperature on the surface of the sun. According to the Insurance Information Institute, wildfires can cause billions of dollars in damage each year, virtually wiping homes, neighborhoods, and even communities off the map. When summer heat kicks up and wildfires spark, have a plan in place to protect your family and your home. Be prepared and ready to evacuate.
I think it's 10 million volts on a lightning bolt. I'll double check that.
I'm still munching on pretzels. That doesn't look good.
Well, I'm going to make myself a cheesesteak.
A cheese sandwich?
Yeah, no, it's called steakums.
Oh.
You cook the steak, put cheese on it, put it on some bread, roll it.
Oh, like a Philadelphia cheese?
Yeah. Oh, I miss those things. We call them oven grinders.
Sounds good.
Cook the steak, put the cheese on, put the sauce on, pop it in the oven for about maybe 5 minutes. And then you can put mushrooms, peppers, pepperoni, whatever you want.
Boy, it sure is ringing. Holy cow.
I had to take my headphones off. That thing was so loud.
Wow, that was loud.
Well, severe weather season is upon us. That means hail, tornadoes, damaging wind, all that kind of stuff that we will likely see over the next couple of months in different parts of the country. I want to focus on one really big thing that you should not do in severe weather. This. You see that overpass up there? Okay, so if you're driving in your car, it doesn't matter whether you're trying to escape a hailstorm or a tornado. For different reasons, they're bad ideas. Now, this is an example from a little while ago, 2017, just a particularly bad example. Look at these cars. You got like 4 people under there that are like, I can't get any hail dents on the roof of my car, so everybody else on the road is going to have to wait behind me. That's incredibly selfish. It's a terrible thing to do, and I don't like what they're doing at all. Now, that's obviously a bad thing to do, but you know, it would almost seem intuitive that getting under an overpass would help out in a tornado, but that's not the case. There's lots of research that has shown that it actually makes the wind faster underneath an overpass. So any way you cut it, not a good idea to stop under an overpass during severe weather.
Boy, that sky looks wicked. Wow, that's bright.
Is that grass on the guy's roof?
What'd you say, Mark?
Is that grass on the guy's roof. Looked like he was watering some grass on the roof.
I don't know.
Even in Cape May County, the boardwalk, Wildwood, Cape May, it's hot. Even with the ocean breeze, it could be 90 degrees out there, and with the ocean breeze, it would
Right.
drop down to maybe what, 88, 87.
Well, it's not bad right now. It's about 47 degrees, but it feels colder.
It's 45 right now. Well, I got two different type temperatures, 48. Tomorrow it's going to be 63. Wednesday 59. Thursday 69. Friday 65. Saturday 64. Sunday 71. Temperatures are all over the place. 59 degrees is not too bad. Just as long as there's no wind.
This weather is so screwy.
Well, thinking about this.
Good Lord, it gives me almost a heart attack. So nice and quiet and calm, and all of a sudden everything goes banging.
That kind of gave me a headache. And I'm getting hungry. Anyway, thanks a bunch for joining me again.
Do what, Mark? I didn't hear you.
Thanks for joining me once again.
Ah,
Well,
you're
I mean,
more
the
than
co-host
welcome.
is always glad to have you. You know, in case I drop dead or something, you can take over the live stream.
Sure. Don't know what to do, but I'll figure it out.
Or get bit by a spider. Oh, talking about that, I mean,
Yeah, I know how to give a wrench now. You ought to be happy. I know how to do that.
oh,
I
really?
practiced on my channel.
Even on my live streams.
Yeah, I've got to go to your thing, to your house. I've got to
My
go
house.
inside your house
Okay.
and do the thing.
I'm gonna end the broadcast and we can talk about that.